What is the question?
If it's vasoconstricting, does that mean physically there isn't blood moving through the
It
veins?
won't stop it completely. Vasoconstriction means a good sized vessel becomes smaller. So the amount of blood goes into the skin becomes less. If the amount of blood goes into the skin becomes zero, then the tip of the toes and fingers will go into ulceration. It is known as frostbite. In Iceland and cold countries, if somebody exposing the tips of the fingers unknowingly into the fire or into the absolute cold, the vessels will constrict, so they will get ulcers in the tip. Since the nerve in the tip of the finger also dies, they won't even have the pain. There will be ulcers, but the nerve also is gone. Only nerve only has to give the pain sensation and prevent them from doing the mistakes again. Okay, got it? Ask.
Is it the veins would
Both, mainly arteries. Arteries also will constrict. Vaso means arteries, mainly arteries. Okay, good. Okay, so next is hormonal coordination in humans. In that, we are discussing about human endocrine system. Human body has two communication systems, the nervous system and endocrine system. Nervous system is the one we discussed now. Cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, spinal cord, reflex, everything comes under nervous system. Endocrine system sends hormones, which are like chemical messengers around the body. When they reach target tissue, they produce a response. So endocrine system produces hormones which just goes to the blood, and through the blood it goes head to toe, while brain produces a specific nerve which goes only to the specific area. Okay, say for example in the vision what we studied is from the eyes there is a specific nerve by name optic nerve which goes to the optic area. From the optic area a specific nerve goes into the muscle and makes the muscle to move or go away from the danger. While in endocrine system, say for example insulin, which is what we are going to read now. So it produced by the pancreas, which is an endocrine organ. It produces insulin and throws into the blood. That's it. So through the blood, it goes head to toe. Okay, endocrine system is depending on the blood to send that messenger. Okay, it's a chemical messenger hormone, and because of the blood, it reaches the different parts of the body. And the endocrine system is made up of glands which secrete hormones directly into the bloodstream. Pituitary gland is the master gland. It is the gland present almost here, okay, in the center, not in the surface, in the center of the brain. It secretes hormones into the blood, either have effect on the body or act on other glands to stimulate them to produce different hormones. So pituitary can directly act on the body, or pituitary will secrete hormones to control testicular function, adrenal function, ovary function. So testicular function means it produces testicular stimulatory hormone, TSH, thyroid stimulatory hormone. Okay, adrenal cortex tropic hormone, ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. So all the other systems are also controlled by the pituitary, or it secretes something like for example growth hormone which goes all over the body. That's why pituitary is known as master gland, because it masters other glands in the body. Okay, so pancreas secretes insulin. It controls glucose level. Actually pancreas secretes 2-3 things like glucagon and few other things, but they are making it simple for you. Insulin, glucose level.
does an insulin turns glucose into glycogen?
Insulin tries to
Oh,
preserve
it
the
does
glucose
say
into
glucagon as
glycogen.
well.
Yeah,
Glucagon, no, yeah, glucagon and insulin are like opposite and they create a negative feedback loop.
yeah. So insulin controls the glucose levels. When there is more glucose level, it converts the glucose taken up into the muscles and fatty organs. Okay. So thyroid secretes thyroxine. It controls heart rate, temperature, metabolic rate, etc. So for example, if the thyroid secretion is more, it is known as hyperthyroidism. When the hyperthyroidism happens, body metabolism will be very high. They'll be very warm and the heart rate will be very high. They'll be very thin because they are spending everything. Okay, if it is hypothyroidism, if thyroid secretion is less, People will be fat, they will be lazy, heart rate will be low, they'll be put on weight. Lot of fat people, they take thyroxine tablets. So that externally they will take thyroxine so that it increases the metabolic rate and they may feel better. Okay, that's how thyroid works.
Wait,
Adrenal gland.
if you have a hypothyroid, does that make you more agitated and fidgety? And
Yeah.
it could cause like emotional, and you easily get angry and sad.
It's easily you can remember this. Hyperthyroid, hypothyroid. Okay. Thyroid helps in metabolic rate, heart rate, temperature. All these things will become high in hyperthyroid. Okay. Hyperthyroid means they will be very anxious, they will be having high rate, they will be having weight loss, they will be having sweating, they will be very thin, etc. Hypothyroid, they will be lazy, they will be having interest in getting up from the bed, they will sleep for a long time, they will put on the weight, and they will be having less heart rate. So everything will be low. Whole metabolism is low. That's it. Okay. Next is the adrenal gland. As I said, adrenal gland is present like a cap above the kidneys, like a cap. Okay. And it is involved in fight or flight response, body's response to stressful situation. So if some insect comes, whether I can remove my chappal and beat it, fight, or it looks bit difficult for me, I will flight. Flight means running away. So flight or fight, that is decided by the adrenal. Either way, it is also controlled by the pituitary. It is adrenocorticotropic hormone. Okay. And ovary and testis. Ovary secretes estrogen, testis secretes testosterone. Ovary is involved in menstrual cycle, development of female sexual characters, different structures appearing during puberty, which distinguishes a male from female. And testis secretes testosterone, involving in production of sperm, development of male sexual characters like body hair, mustache, etc. Okay. The blood transports the hormones to the target organs or tissues where it has an effect. Compared to the nervous system, hormonal system is much slower, but it acts for longer. Okay. Compared to the nervous system, hormone system is slower, but it acts for longer, because once it's thrown into the blood, until the full hormone is completely metabolized, it will go on acting it. So it's a long acting but slow acting. But nervous system are fast. You see that, you take a chappal and beat it. Nervous system. It's fast and short and finish. That's it. Okay. Now, control of the blood glucose concentration. This is a very interesting one. So, concentration of the glucose in your blood needs to be kept in certain limits, because glucose is needed by cells for respiration. It is controlled by the pancreas. Eating food that contains carbohydrates increases the glucose level in the blood. This is all quite straightforward. And if the glucose levels are too high, the pancreas produces hormone as insulin. Insulin binds to cell in target organs such as muscles and liver, causing glucose to move from blood to the muscle for respiration. For respiration means metabolism. And also muscles can also store the glucose as glycogen. Okay. Excess glucose are converted into glycogen, which is stored in the liver also. Okay. It is also called as fatty liver. And the blood glucose concentration is reduced. So insulin helps in reducing the blood glucose, transporting the glucose from the blood to muscles and the liver. In diabetes, there is decreased insulin secretion. That's why people have high blood glucose. If they measure the blood glucose, it's high. As simple as that. Rigorous activity, for example exercise, uses the glucose for transport respiration, and therefore there is less in the blood. So when you start doing exercise, in the blood the glucose will come down. When there is less glucose in the blood, insulin secretion will come down. Insulin has no work. Okay. So if glucose level decreases, pancreas produces hormone as glucagon. This is what I told you. It's an opposite hormone to insulin. Glucagon binds into the liver cells, causing glycogen, which is stored by the insulin, and break it down to produce glucose. And glucose is released from the blood, increasing the blood glucose concentration. Your blood glucose concentration is kept constant through using two hormones. They work in negative feedback. Why negative feedback? When insulin increases, glucagon decreases. So it's opposite. So it's a negative feedback. If something increases and the other thing also increases, it's positive feedback. When insulin increases, glucose decreases. When glucagon increases, insulin decreases. It is negative feedback. So feedbacks are two types, negative feedback and positive feedback. Tell me, happy? Good. So for example, from pituitary, ACTH, adrenocortical trophic hormone. If that increases, the adrenal cortex hormones increases. It is a positive feedback. Okay. When blood glucose levels increases or decreases, a hormone is secreted to opposite change. The action of this hormone cannot occur continually because when the blood arrives at a certain glucose concentration, the other hormone is produced, resulting in the opposite effect. So it all works in the opposite each other. When you have diabetes, you cannot control the blood glucose level. So there are two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 diabetes is the one where pancreas cannot produce enough insulin. It can happen in children, very small children. The blood glucose level can rise to a fatal amount. If it's beyond certain limit, they will get glucose coma, diabetic coma, etc. Glucose is excreted in the urine and lots of urine is produced, leaving the individual very thirsty. And it is treated with insulin injections at meal times, which results in glucose being taken up from the bloodstream. So whenever a person is eating, if the pancreas can't secrete insulin, you have to eat food and take insulin, or take insulin and eat food. It will be the same time. So the insulin will help in making the glucose to enter into the muscle or liver. Okay, good. It also advised to limit the intake of simple carbohydrates which contains lots of glucose. So we need to take only complex carbohydrates or fatty or proteinaceous material so that the digestion is slow. You won't get an insulin rush happening immediately. So simple carbohydrates should be avoided. Doctors are attempting to cure diabetes with pancreas and pancreatic cell transplants. So if somebody has problem with pancreas, we can do a pancreatic cell transplant. Genetically engineering pancreatic cells from mice to make insulin. So we can produce insulin in a factory. That's why they are selling the insulin vial for people to have the injection. So type 2 diabetes, body cells no longer responds to insulin. So this is different. Type 2 diabetes, pancreas is not the fault. It produces insulin. But that insulin is not properly respected by the outside cells. Okay, body is not responding to that. So blood glucose levels can rise to fatal account again. Obesity is a risk factor. Treatment include number of simple carbohydrates in the diet, losing weight and increasing the exercise. There is also a drug to make insulin more effective on body cells, which helps the pancreas to make more insulin, reduce the amount of glucose absorption from the gut. So we can give drugs which will make body to respect insulin a lot, use insulin a lot, make pancreas to produce more insulin, or also make sure that we are reducing the absorption of glucose from the gut. So only if you absorb the glucose, it goes into bloodstream and causing problem. Okay, so these are all the different methods. Next we are discussing the maintaining water nitrogen balance in the body. So indirectly we are going to discuss about the kidney, okay, excretory system. Osmosis is the process by which water molecules move from a place where they are high concentration to low concentration. This we reduced in the physics also. So there is a semi-permeable membrane, higher osmotic fluid, lower osmotic fluid. From higher osmotic fluid, the solute will go into the lower osmotic fluid, solvent will go into that. Okay. And if the water concentration of the blood increases, then cells in the body take up the water. This is because the concentration of water in the bloodstream is higher than the concentration of water in the cells. So water moves into cells by osmosis. Cells then expand as they take up more water and may eventually burst. If you are putting more water into a cell, because of the osmosis, the cell can even burst. It's for an example, it won't happen in real life. If the water concentration of the blood decreases, then the body will lose the water. This is because the concentration of water in the bloodstream is lower than the concentration of water in the cells. So water moves outside the cells shrink. Okay. And if a body cells lose or gain too much water by osmosis, they can't function properly. So osmosis also should be homeostasis at a correct level. So kidneys are very important in maintaining the balance of water and other substances in the body. As blood moves through the body, it makes urine by filtering out the waste products and selectively reabsorbing useful substances such as glucose, iron and water. So first there is filtering, where from the blood all the things are filtered, but after filtering, if there is glucose, important things are gone in the urine, it will be selectively reabsorbed. Just totally remember these two stages. So kidney not just filters and throws out, it also selectively reabsorbs if it is an important thing like glucose or something. And examples of waste products that are produced by the kidney include water, ions, urea. So excess of ions, unnecessary urea, excess of water, they are all excreted. Water can also leave the body at the lungs as a result of exhalation from the skin in sweat. Okay. Depending on the concentration of the water in the blood, certain amount of water is lost as urine. So water can be lost by respiration and also by skin and also by urine. And ions, they are taken into body via food. If the ion concentration is incorrect, the too little or too much of water may enter the body cells. This is because the water potential in the blood could be altered. So depending upon what we take, there will be changes in the ions, and they are lost in the sweat, because sweat, if you see, it's salty because there is a sodium ion, there is a chloride ion, so sodium chloride ion is there. Okay, the kidneys, certain amounts of ions are reabsorbed into the blood after it has been filtered to ensure the concentration of blood is maintained. So ions are important. So if excess are filtered, they can be also reabsorbed. Urea. Amino acids are the products of the digestion of proteins. Amino acids are deaminated in liver to form ammonia. Ammonia is toxic and converted to urea. So from amino acids, after digestion, liver produces ammonia. Ammonia is toxic and it's converted to urea. Okay, there are cycles known as uric acid cycle, etc., which is a bit complex. But if you can remember, uric acid cycle is easy. Urea is produced by uric acid cycle. Okay, it is lost in sweat. That's why the skin sweat is almost like a urine. If somebody sweats a lot, they will smell a lot. It's because of the urea in that. And in kidneys, it is also filtered out of the blood. Obviously, urine contains urea. Okay. Antidiuretic hormone is a hormone involved in the control of the loss of water as urine. Okay. So antidiuretic hormone controls the amount of water loss. See, antidiuretic hormone, which means it prevents diuresis. Antidiuretic. Diuresis is loss of water in the urine. So if there is high amount of antidiuretic hormone, it means patient will produce less urine. If antidiuretic hormone is less, there will be diuresis. Okay, remember the understanding the word antidiuretic hormone. Okay, so it is released into pancreas by the pituitary gland. Okay, so directly from the pituitary gland, when a receptor in the brain detects the blood is too concentrated. If the blood is too much concentrated, antidiuretic is released, so diuresis won't happen. Body can maintain the water. Okay, it travels in the bloodstream to the kidney tubules. Increased amount of ADH, which is antidiuretic hormone, reaching the tubules increases the permeability to water. So more water moves into the tubules back into the bloodstream. So we conserve the water. Okay, this results in smaller volume and more concentrated yellow urine, and blood also becomes less concentrated as more water moves into it. Okay, this is an example of a negative feedback loop, because concentration of the blood increases or decreases, more or less ADH is secreted to reverse this change. So antidiuretic hormone, if it is more, which means the blood concentration will decrease. Okay, that's what is known as negative feedback. If antidiuretic hormone is less, blood concentration will be more. Okay. Kidney failure is when your kidneys stop working. This means the waste products are building up and can be harmful to the body, eventually results in death. Two ways we can treat the patients with kidney failure: dialysis or kidney transplant. So dialysis is a machine where a patient's blood is taken, the same work what kidney is doing a machine will do, and then put back into the patient. Okay. Kidney transplant means somebody will donate the kidney. If the native kidney is too much damaged, we have to remove and throw it into the bin and put the new kidney back. That's it. So dialysis, the function of the kidney is carried out by using an artificial membrane. Blood moves between the partially permeable membrane surrounded by dialysis fluid, has the same concentration of ions and glucose as healthy blood. So patient's blood is taken, semi-permeable membrane, there is a dialysis fluid. This fluid has everything correct. The blood does everything wrong. Because of the semi-permeable membrane, good things go to the blood, bad things go to the dialysate. Dialysate is thrown out. Okay, blood becomes pure. And useful ions and glucose are not lost from the blood, but urea, excess of ions, excess of water, they are all taken out. It has to be done 3 times a week, with the process of itself taking 3 to 4 hours. So if kidney is not working, somebody is depending on dialysis, they need to go to the hospital 3 times a week, every time 3 hours. Remember 3, 3. So 9 hours in a week. It acts as an artificial kidney and keeps the people alive while they are waiting for the transplant. The problems of dialysis are possibility of blood clots, the amount of time it takes, and in fact you have to follow a strict diet. You can't eat salt, okay? Because if you eat salt, then poor dialysis machine has to filter out all the salt. Instead of waiting for 3 days, you need to go every day. And it also has an unpleasant experience. The buildup of waste products between the sessions can leave you feel ill. So if you see the people who are having dialysis, when they finish the dialysis and come, they will be very bright. They can see a cinema completely. And next day they'll be a bit tired. Third day they'll become very tired. They'll be sleeping a lot. And the day before they're going for dialysis, they'll be almost sick and ill. Once they finish the dialysis, they become bright. See how important the kidney, which works 24/7, which is replaced by the dialysis machine. So that's why you should be very careful against the toxic materials for the kidney. Okay. So other method is kidney transplant, which provides the individual with a healthy kidney. It's currently the only cure. So dialysis is not a cure. Dialysis only is just maintaining the kidney failure. If you want to cure someone, you need to do kidney transplant. And they are transplanted from people who have died suddenly or from people who are still alive, as we have 2 and only we need 1 to survive. They are simply telling it, but it's not as simple as that. Okay. They mean that person does not need to visit the hospital as regularly as they did when they are undergoing the dialysis. It's cheaper and than overall cost of dialysis. So dialysis is like spending like 2000 rupees or pounds every time. Okay, and you'll be spending it for next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Dialysis, you'll be spending lakhs and crores maybe, but it's once done, it's done. So sometimes if you see the lifetime expenditure, this is a very good one. The main problem is that they could be rejected from the body as a result of immune system recognizing the antigens on the donor organ as a foreign. The chances of this happening can be reduced by using immunosuppressant drugs. So the donor may be of B positive blood, the recipient may be AB negative blood. Because of the blood incompatibility, it can be rejected. So if the recipient gives the immunosuppression, the recipient's immunity is kept low, so the kidney will be accepted. Since the immunosuppressed patients have low immunity, they will wear mask. They will be advised not to go to the common places. So a lot of food restrictions, visitors restrictions, everything will be there. However, this means that a person can be left vulnerable to other disease. In addition to transplant kidney also not lost forever.
No, they last 9 years.
Yeah, something like that. Okay. Any questions in this? Good.